Well, hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Last week I visited Great Dunmow Art Group. It's a lovely village in the heart of Essex, and they've got a lovely group there, and I gave a demonstration of 2 watercolours. This week I'm going to show you the video that I took while I was there and how I painted this particular scene on that evening. I hope you enjoy watching, and we'll see you at the end. Well, hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Here I am in Fawkes Hall in Great Dunmow this evening, and I'm giving a demonstration to the Dunmow Art Group. And we're going to be looking at a snow scene and also perhaps a sunset, but we'll see how we get on with that. But in the meantime, sit back and watch the demonstration.
Are we ready?
Yes, we're fine now. Yes, okay. Yep, lovely.
This evening we're delighted to welcome Colinsteedart, who has been a regular contributor to Leisure Painter magazine, and he's kindly donating all these to our group, so you can come and choose some, take away, and then we will circulate them afterwards. So that's
Okay, Julie.
Kind of you. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Thank you very much. Well, welcome everyone, and thank you for turning up this evening. Yes, as Julie said, we've got the Leisure Painter. It'd be a good idea if you sort of circulate them, because some articles do 2 months, so you need to get the connecting month, otherwise you'll be in limbo to see what happens to the final. So anyway, that's, if you circulate them around, they should be paired up, but that's it. Anyway, well, my main love is watercolour painting. Now, in my younger years, and we're going back a few years now, I did actually try all the different mediums, oils, pastels, but it was watercolour that I really stuck to because it was so easy to use. Well, people say it's difficult to use, but it's easy to use in as much as you need minimal materials. Wherever you go, you can take a little box of paints, a small pad, a couple of brushes, and you can come back with a recording of the scene you've seen. And that's the thing I liked. It didn't take that long, because in my childhood days in Essex, down in the village of Kelvedon, well, it's not so much a village these days, it's quite a large, yes it is, but in those days it was fields, and I used to just wander around the fields, and I really enjoyed going out into the countryside, drawing, and then eventually taking some paints with me. And that's basically how I started. But obviously to earn money, I needed to get back into some form of employment when I was left school. So I got a job in Marconi's for 22 years, serving as apprenticeship and all the rest of it through engineering. But after 22 years, they were making redundancies. So I decided to try full-time art. And, well, with the help of my wife over the back there, which she sort of helped me tremendously over the years, and I've developed, I've been professional ever since 1998. And, it's taken a lot of work. I've done a lot of earning, but very little spending, because I didn't earn a lot, so I couldn't spend it, basically. Right, okay. Well, I'm looking really... I want to do a couple of scenes this evening. The first one is going to be a snow scene. I want to be a bit topical. We haven't had snow yet, but, I wondered whether that was coming this evening, but not yet. But I want to give you some ideas of how to handle a snow scene using watercolour. And I've chosen, I don't know whether you can recognise that, but it's Finching Field, right? And if you look, you've got the pond behind you, you've got the memorial, and if you go to the right of the memorial, the road runs out of the village, and there's what they call Prospects Cottage. Now, it appealed to me because whenever I look for a snow scene, and this is what I advise, snow scenes should, although a snow scene can be cold and grey, you know, and uninteresting really if you paint it that way, as an artist we need to add colour to a snow scene. You want to make it enjoyable to look at. So, you know, whereas, you know, you've got tiled roofing, it's got to be red tiles. It mustn't be brown or grey tiles. Even if it looks brown or grey, put in red because that warms the scene up. Put a little warmth in the sky. And also that warmth will reflect in the snow. So although you think the snow looks white, you've got to give it a little bit of colour. And that way it gives a real boost to a snow scene. Okay? And it's the tone values too. If you notice with a snow scene, because of the white, the contrast against a colour or a tone is always very stark. For instance, if you're painting a river, the river will look dark if you've got a grass bank, but if you've got a snow-covered bank, the river will look really, really dark because of the contrast, you see. So trees, you'll notice that the branches look very much darker when it's got a little bit of snow on one side. So it's the tone values as well. And the thing I like about this one is that the actual rendering at this time, what it's like now I don't know, but at this particular time was a lovely warm sort of terracotta colour. And that really warms the complete scene up. Okay, now the materials I'm going to use, I'm going to use Winsor & Newton Artist Quality paints. They call them professional quality now. And main reason, because although they are expensive, they go a lot further. They're ground finer, so they spread more evenly. Cotman are okay, but if you use the Winsor & Newton, even if you only buy just a handful of colours, you know, 4 or 5 colours, you'll find that they are so much easier to use. And good quality paper. I've got Canson paper here, mainly because, well, I used to demonstrate for Canson, and because of the demonstrations, they gave me 720 sheets of it. So I'm still using Canson for obvious reasons, but it did save me an awful lot of money, I must admit that. And oh, by the way, the palette, that's because I was in engineering, I ripped out the corrugated, you know, they have the corrugated sections where you lay the tubes. I ripped that out and made, because of the larger brushes I use, I made sections. But I would recommend that you buy the ones where you squeeze the tube into the sections because you replenish them and out of the tube they're more supple. If they're cakes, they're a little solid and they need dampening very quickly, certainly before you start. And even when they're like this, I also like to damp the colours because that loosens them up. So just sprinkle a drop of water on there. I'm using a, what am I using? Oh, a Pro Art. Yeah, it is a squirrel, but it's got a bit of synthetic in there just to make it a bit cheaper, you know. But basically, it's just a Pro Art mop brush, but it does point well. I'm also going to use at some point another mop brush, De La Rowney. That is all synthetic. That's for finer detail. And if needs must, out comes the rigger for the very fine details right at the end. Okay. Now, a snow scene. There's no light on the subject I've chosen, but I can create my own light. Being an artist, you can create your own light. And I'm going to have the light coming from the left. There's a tree here, so we'll have a lovely cast and shadow on the snow in the foreground and perhaps a little bit up the road. So we're going to have a very light sky there, contrasting against the dark branches. Then we go darker as we go away, contrasting with the snow-covered conifer running out of picture on the right. And the good thing about painting a snow scene, you don't paint all of the picture. You know, you don't cover all the paper, really. So technically, it should come up very quickly, and I hope so. Right, now the sky. I always think skies look darker when you've got snow contrasting against the sky. So I'm going to go quite dark with the sky, and I'm going to use something, a colour that a lot of people tend not to use too much, Prussian blue. Yeah, it normally gets a bit of a groan when I say Prussian blue, but I find Prussian blue, and it's actually going everywhere. Look at it, it's flooding all of my other colours. That's lovely, isn't it? Yeah, that's working well, isn't it? Straight away. Yeah. Right, there we go. Prussian blue. Now, I need a red with that. A red that I'm going to use into the rest of the picture. Let's use alizarin crimson. There we go. So I've got a little puddle there, and I'm introducing that Prussian to it. Now, you know watercolour dries somewhat lighter. So we'll start off fairly dark. It's not very dark, but let's add a bit more blue to that, a bit more solid colour. There we go. That's it. Lovely. That's what we've got, because when we come to show the end result, you'll find that it dries up considerably lighter than that. And of course, we've got the conifers that are covered with snow. So that's why I'm painting around that area. There we go. And I'm going to paint around the chimney. That's the good thing about these brushes. They tend to point nicely. If you notice, I didn't damp the paper, which to many people that may seem a little silly if you're wanting to be a very sort of even wash. But with these brushes, you don't need to, because generally it holds a nice colour. Got a little bit of it holds the line of the colour. There we go. A little bit of. And just a little bit on those edges. There we are. Look, the brush is pointed just nice to pick up those outer edges. Look at that. That's amazing, isn't it? Hey? Hey? You do get a bit of luck sometimes when you're painting. There we go. And pull that in. Now we've got the snow-covered top of the thatching. It's a thatched cottage. And I'm going around everything white. Everything you leave white, you will be able to suggest snow. There we go. Nice uneven top to that. I like that. Just going around the chimney areas. So really at this stage, I'm picking around the outside edge of the building and chimneys. That gives me the chance to put shadow onto the any snow that's on the chimney, really. So that's that. Now, clean the brush. Get rid of that horrible Prussian blue. Oh, we don't want Prussian blue now. That's in the water, that's everywhere. Eh? What are we going to do with all this Prussian blue? Right, now I'm going to use lemon yellow. Oh, it's got a bit of Prussian blue in. That's funny, isn't it? Hey, where did that come from? Oh, well, never mind. We'll live with that. And just a little bit of red, too. There we go. That's nice. And I'm going to sweep that into that, but I'm not going to mix it at all. Just going to allow that to light up. There we go. So we can see a little bit of light in the sky at that particular point. There we go. And I'm going to sweep that into just a little bit of a damp area there. Just that. And just allow that to run. And then I'm going to paint down there. And then a little bit more blue now, because I want a bit of that blue to show in the lower part. And then somewhere on the back here, we've got some more trees with just a little bit of snow showing. Not too much snow on that overhanging branch work. Come down the side of that there. And of course, these lovely old thatch roofs. Just a little bit of snow there. Everything you leave white, you can create snow. So that's useful. There we are. So we can see light coming from the left. If you get sort of, if you get little bits of runs and people say to me, oh, it's all running, I'm going to mop off. Just leave it. Just let it do its own thing. Clouds. They could be certain atmospheric things in the sky, So don't overdo, don't play with the painting. Just when you're painting watercolour, it's clean washes of colour that will be the key to a good watercolour. Once you start lifting on and laying and soaking off, you lose it, basically. Right, now I'm going to paint in. Now I'm going to really clean the brush this time, like I should have done last time. And I'm going to paint in the building. Now the building won't have any real snow on it. And to get that terracotta, I'm using light red and so I'm just thinking what other colour to go with it. Burnt umber. Well, only because that's next door to me. I haven't got to lift the brush so far, Yeah, there we go. That looks about that sort of warm terracotta sort of colour. Yeah, we'll have a go with that. Now I'm going to use the mill stick now. Right, let's just see what colour we get from that. Oh, that's nice. There we are. Nice warm tone that will complement any white or indeed the blue sky at that point. Yeah. Could have been a little bit darker, but easy said, now it's on there. And, of course, we've got a window there, so I'm going to paint around that window. And another thing, the looser you are with your brush strokes in one area, the easier it is to be loose in other areas. Once you start getting tight with your, if you were to pick around the windows dead true, that immediately gives a feeling that everything else is going to be neat. If you just run around the windows with a few rough edges, everything else can be rough edged, right? So a lot of people say to me, how do I produce, the loose effect? Well, that is the art, really, to not to be over fussy with any of the brush strokes. Look at these railings. I'm just putting them in extremely quickly. Just an impression, because that's the back of the building. There we go. And that's got snow on. That's a rambler that's running up the wall. And there you go. And all of a sudden, you're beginning to see the building. That's a bit low. Doesn't go that far down. There we go. Look at that. And all of a sudden, you've got impressions of railings. They're not perfect, but nothing's going to be perfect in this painting, I can tell you. That's the key to it. Okay, now I'm going to do the front, and this one's going to have a little more red in there, perhaps a little more water, because just to ring the changes, I think we can see in there, yeah, probably see a little bit in there. Lovely dormer windows on this build that are in the roof line. Just a touch there. And just a touch there we go. Now, paint down, and what I try and do with my washes, I try and paint across and down, so I go across and down, and then you tend to keep a clean wash running. Then you go back to that end, crossed and down. And, ooh, that's a bit of luck. Look at that. It's gone lighter as I've gone down because the brush has run out of paint. And that's where all the light of the building is. So that's a bit of luck. You do need luck sometimes. There we are. So that's basically the building in. It's pretty much there. This is, right, now we use the burnt umber for the wooden structure. It's probably an old shed, I would imagine, in the background. Oh, and we've got a couple of figures. One of them's just lost a head. That's rather annoying, isn't it? Oh, well. Hey ho. Just, as they say, shut up and keep painting. There you go. Oh, well. Right, so that's a couple of figures coming along there. What have we got there? Oh, that's fencing. Oh, well, there you go. We'll use this brown again then. As good as any colour. Waste not, want not. Just keep painting. And that goes where that road sort of goes up there. Yeah, that's okay. Good. Now chimneys. Do you know I'm going to add alizarin crimson to that light red? Because these chimneys always appear a little darker than when they're against the sky and when you've got snow. Now, snow will light on the top of the overhangs, so you'll have snow on the top, then you'll have a little bit there, and I'm going to have a little bit of snow on the chimney just about there. Right, so the rest has not got snow, and the same here. Leave some little touches of white, not so much on the front of that, because I like the idea of that red. But the good thing with snow scenes, you know, if you leave a little white paper, it's snow, you know, and snow can light almost anywhere, really. Well, that's the theory of it. Right, a bit more light red now with a bit of burnt umber, because there is another chimney here that until this morning I didn't notice. And then all of a sudden, because on one of my pictures it's on there, on another picture it wasn't. So I would imagine that over time, when I wasn't looking, they built another chimney. And I would say it could be an extension, possibly. The back there, I don't know. Yeah, could be. Yeah, extension to the kitchen. Hey, you've got to have them, haven't you? You've got to have them. Right. Next thing. Do you know, we're getting there. Isn't that amazing? Cool, we can have an early night. Okay, what else have we got? Right. Bit of grey roofing for that shed, which is there. Right. Yeah, that works. That hasn't got snow on now, or it could be snow in shadow, you know. That comes up rather blue. Now, let's deal with the snow on the road and the roof. Now, the key to this is introducing some colour from perhaps the sky and the rest of the building into the snow, right? So, all I'm going to do, very, very weak, I'm going to dive into a bit of the red there, alizarin crimson, put a bit of yellow with it, make it more orangey. It's not particularly bright, not particularly brilliant, because I don't want that too dark. And let's just put a little bit, there you go, look at that. And this will be the warming of the snow. There you go, look at that. So, although you think snow is white, also gives perspective. These lines will show through in the end and help with foreground perspective as well. I'm also going to put some little touches of that in the roof. Not quite as much, but just there. So never be afraid to introduce a bit of colour where you've got snow. Because when it finally dries, all being well, should end up gradually disappearing, really. So that's that. Yeah, that's coming along quite nicely. Now, chimneys, the actual chimney pots. Do you know we're going to go yellow with the chimney pots? Yeah, they're sort of like well, they're not, but they're going to be. There we go. And notice how they stand out in sunlight, because we've got a dark sky behind the little touches of white that are left on the chimney, particularly that one and that one. Oh, let's make that one a brown sort of colour, because that's a little different. There we go. That's one of those chimneys, I would imagine. They don't want the wind to blow back down there and blow back the smoke. Good. There you go. I mean, you know, it's not too much to that, is there? You know, it's coming along pretty much good, I think. Right, now the greenery. Well, conifers, as you know, probably stay green all year round. So all we need is to take a lot of moisture off the brush using Prussian blue. That's my Prussian blue. And burnt sienna, or a bit of light red, something like that. Oh, there you go. Look at that. That's fine. Yep. There you go. It's mainly it's sort of like a bluey green, really. You know, the conifers. So, providing we pick up a bit of that, there you go. Right. Now, conifers. Let's see if we can shape this brush. The brush isn't shaped very well. There we go. Ah, there you go. So we can see little parts of that, of the conifer, that haven't got snow on, and other parts have. There we go. Yeah, that's looking good. And then, of course, as we get down into the lower area, you may find a little area there, and perhaps there, that has got very little snow. And the good thing about painting like this, it's the shadow work that will really make or break this picture. So there's somewhere there without too much snow on. And then we have a lot of snow again. It's just sort of like a demonstration to show you how to produce the effect of snow without using white. Okay, that's the key to it. Because I never like to use white. Not unless I really, really need to. There we go. And here you'll have just some little touches of little rambler there that's running around there. Oh, and let's have a little bit of this snow coming there. It's just showing on the railings. There we are. Just a little bit more green in places. Oh, that's nice. Look at that. It's good when you do something and it actually works. Doesn't happen very often for me. Right, there we go. I can get rid of that then. Okay, so that's the greenery and everything you have over on the right. So on the left, this is where the fun bit starts. This is where we really get excited. Right. Now, we're going with, is my camera still running? Yes. It has an uncanny way of just cutting out, you know. And I get half the demonstration, and the other half, people have to guess, you know. Right. So there is the lovely Prussian blue, and what was I painting? Oh, the greenery there. Right, Prussian blue, and do you know I'm going to use Indian red? I wonder why I'm doing that. You can't tell me, can you? No, no. Oh well, I said all of us there. Right, purely I think to show. Oh right, there you go. Now I'm not going to have any snow on this. Going to allow a bit of light to come through. And that was a bit of luck, we got some green there, isn't it? Because it helps the greenery of the tree on the left. Don't ask me why it's not getting any snow on, but we'll forget about that. And then, of course, what we got here? Oh, we've got overhanging branches. There we are. I love these overhanging branches. Just go right to the end because I've got a way of covering that. There we go. So this really helps to tell the viewer that it justifies the shadow that we're going to put on the foreground. I would put a foreground shadow anyway. I would just say, oh, well, there's a tree out of picture or a building out of picture. All right? So you can get away with a foreground shadow. And if you notice, 9 times out of 10, a good landscape has a nice foreground shadow. And then a light area before you come to another perhaps dark area. And that's the key. There's lots of keys to this, isn't there? Yeah, there we are, a bit more red. What does that do? Oh, right, okay, well, that'll do us. Bit more red gone in. I like red and green. Complementary colours, they say. If they say, whoever they are, but if they say, then that suits me down to the ground. There we are. I think I've gone far enough. Don't want to cover the, bit more blue in there. Don't want to cover the area too much. And then we have some little spiky bits. There we are. And then we're going to have a bit more solid area and then a bit more open area. You know, just have a bit of fun with the point of the brush. That's what I say to a lot of people I'm teaching. Just have a bit of fun with the point of the brush. If you overdo it, and overdoing it would bring it over the building, right? We don't want to go too close to the building because it's so important to have that space for the eye to wander through and into the distance. Right, what we got in this lower area? Well, actually, it comes down fairly neat along there, so. And it gets a little brown, a little bit of burnt umber in there with a little bit of the red. There we go, to make it really dense. And that finishes pretty much there. Look at that. You see, with painting, you'll put loads of light areas on, but it's not until you get the dark areas that you begin to see the contrast of everything. And immediately, that dark area brings the building into some form of light. Without darks, you can't appreciate lights. So you'll notice with a lot of my work, you know, those of you that are subscribers on my YouTube channel, you know, if you want to, you can do, you know. I'm not forcing you to, but if you really want to, you know, you can subscribe. You'll notice that I use lots of dark areas to contrast the very light areas. I mean, another artist that did that well, Roland Hilder. Those really dark washes of colour. Then all of a sudden, there was a light area, and you give it atmosphere in just a couple of brush strokes. So they are the things that you should be looking at when you come to paint these type of areas. Right, now I'm going in with just brown. A little bit of snowy touch to that lower area. There we go. Shadow will continue then across the track. And, of course, we've had a few motor vehicles along this road. Let's use something a bit red. There we are, a bit of light red into there as well. There we are. God, dear. I don't think Lynn's going to be very pleased. This is a brand new towel from the bathroom tonight. Cool. There you go. Now, we've had some vehicles, so consequently, we've got a little bit of breaking away. There we go. Yeah, I think I've got the perspective right there for once. Doesn't very often happen. I'm actually going to put little bits of red in that. There again, I don't know why, but I think it gives warmth to that foreground area. A little bit thicker there, not too much gravelly area. We're coming along. It's beginning to look like a snow scene. Right. Okay, how long have we... Oh, crikey. Loads of time. Loads of time. Right, next I'm going to change to a smaller brush to paint windows. Now, generally, I would say, rule of thumb, windows, if they're dark frames like dark wood, the glazing quite often appears lighter. But if they're light frames, the dark glazing appears darker. So it's that contrast again, right, generally. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to use a nice dark blue-grey, anything in the palette really that I can pick up, any of the colours. And I want to be a little dark. Yeah, there we go. In many ways, the darker you go, the better. Let's put a bit of red with that blue again. There you go. The darker you go, the better. And need to show a bit of light too. So I'm going to just start at the top and just drag down. Start at the top, go across the top and drag down. Really simple brush strokes. Start at the top, drag down, drag down. The further you go with this, the easier the brush points, because you want to give that effect of sunlight hitting the glazing. Okay, so that's what I love to do. Ooh, we ought to go blue here, a little bit cobalt in there, because it may reflect the sky a touch, the windows on the first floor. There we go. Yeah, make those just a little bit darker. That's good. Now, figures. Right. And I always say, if you're not used to drawing figures or painting figures in, put them in the distance, right? Just little dots and, little stick men in the distance, As you get more confident, bring them into the middle distance. And when you're really good, put them in the foreground. I'm still in the middle distance stage at the moment, so I've got a way to go with figures, but... right, now one has lost its head, so that head's now got to be dark. So this little chappie is going to have dark brown hair, and the lady with him, dark hair. Crikey, he needs a haircut. And the other figure is going to be blonde hair. So that's a little raw sienna. That's a sort of a blonde sort of colour, there you go. And we're going to give those two figures a little bit of extra colour. So one is going to be cadmium red, just to pull the eye in. Red will attract the eye to the chimneys and then they'll run down. but this one will attract the eye to the more central area of the picture and out to, the eye will be drawn in to the red, scanning round there, and then stopped by this dark tree on the left-hand side. Then the eye will want to come back into the picture. So designing your pictures are, it's all quite a legitimate thing to do, really, designing. And the other one's going to be blue. God, making a bit of a mess here, aren't I, hey? What am I going to do? Oh, blue, yeah. Right, cobalt blue. There we go. And then just dark grey. Trouser. It is winter, so we're not going to have... There we go. A couple of little figures sitting on the ground or standing on the ground. That's good enough for a couple of figures, as long as people know what they are. Right, doors. What doors have we got? Oh, well, I'm going to go reds, blues. I don't know whether red is going to fit with that. Right, so I'm going to go cobalt blue again. Fairly dark. So we've got lovely blue doors against a red surround or an orange surround for the rendering. And I do have, there's two doors on that. One there and one there. And it lays back, as you can see. The door reveal you can see to the left, but you can't see the door reveal to the right because of the angle. So that's something that is always worth thinking about when you're observing and drawing subjects. Some railings there. Yeah, there you go. Brilliant. While I have this colour, I'm going to enhance these windows. So we've got two tones in there now. I'm not going to do the shadow side. There we go. That's pretty good. There we are. Good, good, good. Ooh. Tell you what I'm going to do. Going to just paint in a little bit of shadow work there because there's a gate. There's an iron gate there. So we're going to produce the gate work there, yes, so that's going to be all right, and that's, yep. Good. Now, around the base of these old buildings, we have, and no doubt somebody will tell me exactly what it is, a black line, like a, I suppose it's like a damp course. Yeah, it's like a damp course around the bottom of the buildings. And so we've got a damp course that runs like that. Then we've got steps. This damp course rides up a little bit there. But then, of course, it goes on to snow. There we go. So that's quite fitting for these type of buildings. You do see that. And we've got snow, of course. Lovely. So far, so good. Right, burnt umber with a touch of the other blue, Prussian or whatever blue we've got. And I'm going to put in the railings. Under the underside, down the right. We've got a gate or something going on here. So that goes in, some cross sections, and the white takes the feeling of, it needs more cross sections than that. That's better. And the white just gives a feeling that there we are, that's better. It's improved it. Then, of course, we have the railings here that have white on them that I left, all to be enhanced when we give shadows to the snow just simply treated. Oh, I've not gone down far enough with those. Oh well. Hey ho. There we go. What I'll do, I'll put just a run along the base there. There we go. There we go. So that's the railings there. You see how simply you can paint in things as a suggestion. Now, I think this is painted black as well, but of course we've got snow on the step, so they haven't been out with their salt yet, but no doubt they will when they want to go shopping up the village. There we go. So that's that. Good. And we also have here, you've got posts that have a railing that runs around that front door. I think it's probably just to keep the cars away, really, because I don't think I'd want to live here because cars tearing up and down in front of you. But anyway, so we have like a fenced area there. Oh, right, that one goes right to there. That one goes to there. And I'm going to put in one there, then another one there. There you go. So that's the fencing to the railings. Good. Now, the next thing is, well, there are finishing touches, but of course, it's shadow work. Now, this is the key to any painting, and yeah, I think it should work out okay. All being well, fingers crossed. Right, shadows. What shall we use for shadows? All right, okay. I've just come up with an idea, just like that. Not Windsor blue, Prussian blue with alizarin crimson. Enough blue in there to take away that real purple feel. And it's got to be a transparent wash. And when you're putting your colours on, I would recommend that you do an area that's not going to be too viewed. Because if you all of a sudden splash in a colour that you're not happy with, then you'll, so go into an area that's a little bit out the way a bit. So this area to me is this chimney. Go over the snow, a little bit down there, a little bit down there, a little bit at the back there. I think that'll probably do it. Yeah, I think we can. Right, now I'm getting a little bit more adventurous. I'm now going on to this part of the chimney here. So we've got shadow where the pots are, down the back edge of that, and all the time being aware that the snow is in sunlight. But of course, where it's in shadow and it's just white paper, you just paint over the shadow. Paint over with the shadow colour. And the same here. Oh, let's do the back edge of the chimney pots there, back edge of those pots, and the underside there and down there. There you go. Look at that. See how that chimney pot really stands out with the snow against that dark sky. Good. Now I do have my confidence going. Rightly or wrongly, I'm going to bang in, and that's a technical term. I tell you what, just thought of something. Because it's a rounded edge, let's try this. Damp that paper there. I'm going to damp that, and I want that to run round because it's a rounded edge. There we are. So as I paint into that, fingers crossed, it's going to create a soft edge. Oh well, that's been relatively successful. Just lift a bit of colour off in that lower area where it's run a bit too far. So what I've done, I've damped the paper so it's creating a hard edge on the dry side and a soft edge on the damp side, because it's just bleeding into it a touch. Right, now we can then go and paint in that right-hand side, leaving just a glimmer of light on that. And then we really go for it now. Oh, good. Oh, gosh. Blimey. God, no. What have I done? Oh, no. Shut up and keep painting. I'm going to go over the window, right? There we are. Just keep going. There we are. There we go. And all of that side will be in shadow. There we go. And the wall will be in shadow, but the railings are left white. Okay? So, right, so I'm going to leave that the top of the railings, and then I'm going to go down there, and just leave the white and the tops unpainted. There we are. Look at that. And that's the railings there. Good. Then we just gently touch in that overhanging where we've got a bit of shadow on that. And just into there. There we are. Now, another area that's very, very important, and this needs a bit of thinking about, is the overhang shadow from there. And this is going to be nice and deep. A nice deep shadow. The sun coming from the left, so that's casting a shadow down there, and across there. But of course, that is split because of the opening there, like that. Comes at a bit of an angle. Makes certain they marry up pretty well. And just come across there like that. We've also got an overhang shadow there from that roof. We've got an overhang shadow there. Just a touch down that side. We're going to give the windows just a little bit of recessed shadow. Bring those to life. There we go. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And then, of course, we've got the recess on the door and across the top, but not on the railings. That's another thing to remember. There we are. And all of a sudden, the door sits back nicely. And now we've got we've got that. Yes, that's the inside of that thatching. And there, the inside of that thatching and that area there, the inside of that thatching and that area there. Windows, just give those a little touch. There you go. Yep. So all of a sudden we can see the windows standing away. All very delicate stuff, but it does give that lovely feel of sunlight. And then, lo and behold, we will have a shadow running across the foreground. Now, before I do that, I'll tell you where we do want shadow. Back edge of those conifers. There we go. So we can see one is separate from the other. That will be in shadow. There we go. That gives sunlight to those conifers. A bit of shadow from the building, possibly there as well. A bit of shadow there. And I'm going to put a little bit of shadow in the lower part of that building there, that part of the greenery. There we go. Yeah, that's fine. Main thing is that you do keep open quite a lot of white that you feel would be required. I should get rid of that. That's better. Didn't want shadow there, or the light there. Good. Okay, now we've got that area and the shadow that casts onto the snow. We've got the right-hand sides of these posts. That one was a bit thick, but that's okay. That's the main holding post. And of course, we've got shadows from those posts. Like that. Yeah, that's pretty much good. Let's just soften that away. Then, get rid of this, look. There we are. We have a bit of shadow from a tree out of picture. There we go. And that's running up halfway up that figure, but not up that one. So that one casts a shadow on the ground. There we go. So one figure is in sunlight, the other figure is in shadow. And then we go with shadows. Let's just put a little bit of shadow on the underside of that fencing there. That's it. Yep. Then we have these lovely foreground shadows. Now these really interest me, foreground shadows, purely because, tea time. Cool, get these in quick. Right. Cool. Don't want to miss our tea, do we? Right, bit more red in there now. There we go, look at that. And draw that across and then use the outside or the point of the brush to create that lovely fin of light, and that then marries in with that other area there. And then we have a little bit of broken light, a bit of subtle change of light there. Just use the point of the brush. There we are, and that justifies this dark area on the left-hand side, which is, of course, that lovely old tree. And finally, last but not least, will be just a little bit of subtle shadow that side, and we soften this area because it's more or less the drifting of the snow. It just helps to balance that area there. Lovely. And I'm going to just soften that a little bit. Just spread that. That's it. Look at that. A bit jagged and a bit soft. And then, finally, a little bit on the track there. A little bit on the track there. And that one comes down, and we just have one or two others that are just lifting through that shadow. Yeah, that's good. And then I'm going to go some shadow work where there is some indentations in the thatcher's decoration. And that helps, I think, to break up that white area of snow. There we are. Well, we're getting there. And because the kettle is on, I think we ought to sort of wind it up. So, just to finish off, I'm going to take away the surround, because, to me, once I take away this surround, it more or less puts a sort of a mount onto it, if I can get it off. Because I've got another one under here for later on. Oh, there you go. And once you take away that outer surround, if you don't tear the paper, yes, it's delicate stuff. And then all you need to do is to sign it with the paint that you've used before someone takes a photograph of it. There we go, and I'm going to sign it in this bottom right hand corner. In the paint that I use for authenticity. And there we have the first half of the demonstration. In the second half, I'm going to paint a winter sunset. So we'll see you all in the second half. Well, there you have it. That's the finished painting now that I'm back into my studio, and I think I had a lovely evening there, and I hope you've enjoyed watching, and if you have, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and we'll see you all again next time. Happy painting.